Tonight, devastation in a BC community as a wildfire leaves a trail of destruction.
That fire came over all the ridges, and I saw it. It was just like a hurricane, and it wiped out all the houses to the south of me in seconds.
Shocking video of the damage left behind, with crews stretched to the limit, fighting fires across the province. Plus, frantic moments in Edmonton as violent winds and rain catch concertgoers off guard.
Very quickly turned to, we got to get out of here, like we're not safe.
The sudden severe storm that flooded streets and knocked out power. And a suspect in the Berlin Pride attack is shot and killed by police.
We are feeling not free at the moment.
What we're learning about the alleged attacker's past.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Henemansing.
We begin tonight here in British Columbia, where the fight against raging wildfires has left crews strained. The province's wildfire service says its resources are now at capacity as more than 140 fires threaten property and livelihoods. More than 30 evacuation orders are in place, the largest concentration straddling the Fraser Valley and Okanagan regions. Hundreds of people have been forced from their homes. Mira Baines tells us about some of them anxiously waiting to learn what, if anything, remains.
Terrifying images from Clinton, BC, captured on video. The community is under evacuation order.
Nothing left of my auto record, my junkyard, and my home.
Steve Larrabee escaped the fire.
That fire came over all the ridges, and I saw it. It was just like a hurricane. It came down the ridge, and it was going right into town, and it wiped out all the houses to the south of me.
Some homes and businesses burned to the ground, leaving charred foundations. Larrabee says his tow truck business and 2 family homes are gone, and he didn't have insurance due to rising costs. He questions whether more could have been done to help save his properties.
The hydro got turned off, so our sprinklers weren't working. We had no way to look after our properties. There was no water suppression guys. There was nobody there to help us.
2 aggressive, out-of-control wildfires around Clinton, the Pear Lake and 59 Creek fires have merged to form the Big Bar complex near Highway 97. The fire complex is burning close to a BC Hydro substation. Hundreds of people have been forced to leave their homes. An evacuation center has been set up in Kamloops, about an hour and a half away. There are at least more than 60 wildfires burning out of control in BC.
Several of those are from lightning that moved through the southern parts of the province yesterday, bringing new starts to those regions.
Officials say more ground and aerial crews are coming in from outside the province to help fight the fires.
There'll be 25 personnel from the Yukon and 66 from Alberta. In addition, after the long weekend, we're looking forward to welcoming over 100 personnel from Mexico on August 3rd.
In West Kelowna, crews gained enough ground so that an evacuation alert affecting more than 500 properties was lifted. For people living there, it's a reminder of how fast a wildfire can threaten their community.
All of a sudden, there was like a big flash. It was a massive lightning strike. You could actually hear the boom. It was almost within 5 minutes. You could see the smoke billowing over the mountain, and you could smell it almost like you were sitting beside a campfire.
Officials say conditions have been challenging, and in southern BC, a few days of hot, dry weather and strong winds are expected. Wildfires are also affecting roads across the province, with sections of 2 highways closed. Air quality warnings are in place for much of the province.
And Mira, there's a new evacuation order coming into effect in just a few hours.
People living in 70 Mile House, just north of Kamloops and surrounding areas, are being told of a planned evacuation order. It's going to take effect at 10 a.m. Monday.
Mira Baines in Vancouver. Wildfires are spreading fear and destruction in Western Europe, where more than 300,000 people have been forced from their homes. Desperate firefighters say some blazes are creating their own whirlwinds, and many simply can't be controlled. Alexander Silberman now with the nightmare scenarios playing out in France and Spain.
In eastern Spain, a raging inferno. Towering flames tearing across hillsides north of Valencia. burning so fast with so much fuel. Crews say current conditions make it impossible to extinguish. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez promising more resources are on the way, including equipment and firefighters from European neighbors. The extreme weather confirms what science has been telling us for a very long time, he says. Spain is now under a national state of emergency. Authorities say 2 people have died from the wildfires near Valencia. In the Madrid region, about 90,000 people have been told to flee. I had to run from my house. It was a ball of fire, says this evacuee. If I'd left 5 minutes later, it would have wiped us out. The Spanish capital is blanketed by dense smoke. Disappointing for this Canadian tourist.
We thought we left the bad air quality and then we came here. So it's unfortunate and sad just to see how our world is changing.
In France's Gironde region, an area 3 times the size of Paris has burned. A massive wildfire is spreading closer to the city of Bordeaux. Police going door to door in the middle of the night, telling residents to leave, with a staggering 220,000 people already forced out of their homes. The fires leaving behind a trail of destruction, with at least 240 homes destroyed. It makes you want to cry, says this 20-year-old. It's horrible because we no longer recognize our land at all, she says. We're overwhelmed. The firefighters are doing what they can, but there simply aren't enough resources. A new heat wave is forecast for large parts of Europe this week, with temperatures expected to soar to 40 degrees or higher, putting new pressure on the fight to contain the fires. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Montreal.
In Edmonton today, people were assessing the damage after high winds and torrential rain from a sudden storm last night caused mayhem. Morgan Black starts us off at a concert where thousands showed up for the music, but soon were sent running for cover.
Intense wind and rain ripping through Edmonton's Commonwealth Stadium, minutes into a Saturday night show by American performer Post Malone. A far cry from his sold-out success the night before. It was soon clear this was not just a delay, as the punishing storm wreaked havoc on the crowd and forced a mass exit from the stadium. The rain and hail pelted concertgoers. In ponchos and cowboy hats, fans packed into the concourse, sopping wet, and some a little scared.
It was just very quickly turned to, we gotta get out of here, we're not safe.
Brina Braun, one of tens of thousands of concertgoers caught in the storm.
You could tell everyone's starting to get freaked out. There was people around us crying.
Outside of the building, roads were flooded across the city and trees snapped, crashing into cars. Heavy rain pummeling the city, shutting down major roads. Nearly 30 millimeters of rain fell in just 1 hour, according to Environment Canada.
There was water coming off the side of the building like never seen.
The impact of the storm so intense that Edmonton police warned 911 response times could be affected overnight due to an exceptionally high volume of calls. They also urged people not to travel unless it was absolutely necessary.
The cleanup continued Sunday across the city. This video store flooded.
2 shop vacs going, got 2-3 guys on mops. Got out of here at 2 in the morning. I got back here at 10 a.m. to clean and disinfect and make sure the shop's open.
The storm's power still visible at Commonwealth Stadium well after it had passed. Many in Edmonton still drying out.
I have never been so soaked in my entire life.
A concert experience some fans will never forget. Morgan Black, CBC News, Edmonton.
We have some breaking news to tell you about. At least 2 people are dead tonight and 5 injured in a shooting in Seattle, Washington. Local media reporting gunshots were heard at a popular food and beverage festival at an events complex close to the iconic Space Needle, and that the Seattle Center where the festival was taking place was evacuated. They said multiple victims were taken to hospital, and reports say one of the injured was a 2-year-old boy. Toronto police are investigating after two separate locations of a Jewish-owned bakery chain were damaged overnight, one of them hit by gunfire.
We understand that this is concerning for those that work and live in this area, especially members of the Jewish community.
Officers were called to this Midtown bakery early Sunday morning when employees arrived to find the front window damaged by bullets. A second location also had its front window damaged, but with no evidence of gunfire. Members of Toronto's Jewish community are condemning the attacks.
It shouldn't be happening in our community. It shouldn't be happening in anyone's community. The notion that people are coming to pick up bagels on a Sunday morning only to be greeted with police tape is alarming.
He says the incident shattered not only windows, but also the sense of peace and security in the community. He's calling on government officials at all levels to take the threat seriously. Police in Germany have killed a 21-year-old man they say was responsible for a deadly Islamist terror attack. It follows a nearly 24-hour manhunt that began yesterday when a van slammed into a crowd of people during Berlin's Pride festivities. Jennifer Yoon has the details.
This is the immediate aftermath of a van ramming attack in Berlin, which turned a Pride celebration into a crime scene, with one woman killed and 29 others injured. This is a day of horror and shock for the queer community, says this attendee. This is where the attack happened, in a central Berlin park on a forested path near the Brandenburg Gate. This white van plowed into a crowd before crashing into a tree. Police say the driver jumped out and attacked several people with what looked like a machete before fleeing. Police then launched a massive manhunt, which ended here nearly 24 hours later when they found the man they were looking for and shot him dead. The suspect ran towards the officers armed with a bladed weapon. That's why police used firearms, says this Berlin police spokesperson. Everything we see here suggests we're dealing with an Islamic terrorist attack, says Germany's interior minister. The suspect, 21-year-old Abdul Balut, he was a German citizen with Lebanese roots. He had traveled last year in an unsuccessful bid to join the Islamic State group, later convicted of preparing a serious act of violence endangering the state and publishing Islamic State propaganda, but he was released on probation pending an appeal.
The decision was made to refer this case, him, to de-radicalization talks with an NGO. Obviously, in this case, this decision was not correct.
As experts analyze what went wrong in this case, the German chancellor calling for unity as the country grapples with a crime he says is aimed at dividing society. They want to take away the most important things we have, our openness and our freedom, he says. And as hundreds of people gathered with rainbow flags and flowers, there were tears and fears.
We are feeling not free.
But also defiance that Berlin's LGBTQ community won't be bowed. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A Canadian woman who worked at NATO's operational headquarters in Belgium is now being held under suspicion of spying. Belgian prosecutors described her as a Canadian national of Chinese origin. Their statement said she's accused of spying for an unspecified third country and belonging to a criminal organization. The arrest happened Friday following a search of her home and office. Donald Trump's punishing new tariffs could hit Canada in less than a month, and Ottawa is weighing its next steps. Julia Wong looks at what's on the table and what's at stake.
Washington demain.
These days, just the mention of Washington is enough to rile Canadians up. This time, coming from the minister responsible for Canada-US trade. The boos come about a week after the U.S. vowed to slap a 50% tariff on Canadian goods, including those previously exempt under CUSMA. The U.S. administration arguing they're needed because of Canadian restrictions on dairy, alcohol, and vehicles.
Clearly, the tensions have raised significantly, and Canadians feel this very intensely.
Case in point, a cancelled joint celebration ahead of Monday's opening of the new cross-border Gordie Howe Bridge. This expert says the hiked tariffs are a strategy for CUSMA renegotiations, but they also send a bigger message.
it's a signal to the rest of the world that if it retaliates against the United States when the United States unilaterally raises tariffs on its products, then it potentially will face even higher tariffs.
This new threatened levy would come under Section 338 from a tariff act from the 1930s, never used before. One expert says it was only a matter of time.
If he wants to act quickly, if he wants to make threats, use it as leverage, then Section 338 is good for him in that regard.
In a letter to Mark Carney, opposition conservatives now demanding his government table a written plan to get tariffs removed. Experts say Canada has tools to fight back.
For example, Canada still has options under the CUSMA itself. There are options at the WTO. There are possibilities for importers of Canadian goods to go to the U.S. courts.
But that's only if the tariffs are actually imposed, something experts say Trump could change his mind about. For now, they're set to take effect August 19th. Julia Wong, CBC News, Washington.
Some voters in Ontario, Quebec, and BC will be heading to the polls this summer after the Prime Minister called by-elections in 3 federal ridings. The votes will be held August 31st in the BC riding of North Vancouver, Capilano, the Ontario riding of Beaches, East York, and the Quebec riding of Chicoutimi-Le Fjord. The Liberals need to win at least one of those 3 seats to maintain control of the House of Commons. Geopolitical tensions made Arctic security and sovereignty a central theme at an international gathering in Iqaluit. The Inuit Circumpolar Council's General Assembly has delegates from 4 Inuit regions. As Juanita Taylor tells us, they're hoping to speak with one voice.
Hereby unanimously approved at the 15th General Assembly of ICC.
A roadmap for the next 4 years to lead ICC in its work advocating for Inuit, including investing in Inuit-led research, demanding peace and stability in the Arctic, and protecting their way of life and sovereignty. A declaration signed by all 4 Inuit regions from Canada, Greenland, Alaska, and Chukotka, Russia.
We come together, we strengthen Inuit, but ICC has also strengthened the world.
ICC represents approximately 180,000 Inuit from across the circumpolar Arctic. Canada will lead the organization for the next 4 years. Aluki Kutek has been acclaimed chair to lead ICC on the world stage. She says protecting our land, our ice, our ocean, and our identity as Inuit. For the first time in nearly a decade, all member countries took part in a General Assembly in person, including a small delegation from Chukotka, Russia.
Those like even political issues and disagreements on a global arena. And I'm glad that our Inuit didn't close their eyes on us, as we say it in Russian.
The president of Canada's National Inuit Organization says the timing of Canada's new leadership role is significant.
This is a strategic moment for the Inuit Circumpolar Council's chair to come to Canada. We have a new Arctic ambassador, and so we are set up very well to work with the Canadian government at the international level and also across the Arctic, in cooperation and with force.
That force being fueled by Inuit culture and determination. The next ICC General Assembly will be held in Alaska in 2030. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Canadian swimmer Josh Liendo has captured gold, setting a new Commonwealth Games record in Glasgow.
Looks like he's got the slight edge. Looks like gold.
The 23-year-old successfully defending his 100-meter butterfly title in 50.42 seconds, claiming this country's first gold in the pool, while Ontario's Kylie Moss became the country's most decorated female swimmer at the Games with 10 medals after taking silver in the 100-meter backstroke. Canada now has 9 medals, 3 gold, 3 silver, and 3 bronze.
Avec Tadej Pogacar.
Slovenian cyclist Tadej Pogacar celebrating his 5th Tour de France win on Sunday, something only 4 other cyclists have done. The 27-year-old wearing the famed yellow jersey after winning the Tour for the 3rd straight time. Today's final stage was shortened due to the devastating wildfires in southern France. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey continues its epic box office journey. Coming up, meet Matt Damon's Canadian stunt double and find out why so many people are talking about her blockbuster biceps. Next.
I'm so proud to kind of shine a light on stunts and stunt acting.
Are there any gay hockey players?
Plus, the creator of Heated Rivalry, how his show became a pop culture moment.
My algorithm has always been hockey and gay. That's me. That makes sense.
And later, her iPhone fell over 1,000 meters from a plane.
I am gobsmacked.
And it was working just fine. We're back into. A successful touchdown in Kazakhstan for a U.S.-Russian crew returning from 8 months aboard the International Space Station. The astronauts orbited Earth nearly 4,000 times and traveled more than 160 million kilometers. While on the space station, they repaired a faulty joint on the Canadarm and conducted a variety of scientific and technological experiments. A Vancouver woman is earning high praise for her performance as Matt Damon's stunt double in the new blockbuster film, The Odyssey. And as Griffin Yeager tells us, it's how Damon praised her that may be getting the most attention.
If you were impressed by Matt Damon's biceps in The Odyssey, you're not alone.
This is the greatest bicep work I've seen.
After that compliment on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Damon was quick to share the credit.
My double was a woman, a female stunt performer, who had the greatest arms I've ever seen.
That double is Edmonton-born, Vancouver-raised actor and stunt performer Devin Dalton.
I had some friends send me the clip, and I was like, my jaw kind of dropped.
For Dalton, whose job is to blend in with the scene, this is more than just a shout-out.
I'm so proud to kind of shine a light on stunts and stunt acting, and especially stunt women.
Dalton stepped in for the scene featuring an epic battle against giant soldiers. Director Christopher Nolan used a technique called forced perspective to make Odysseus and his band of men look small next to the giants.
There were these kind of stuntmen who were all 7 feet, right? And then they got stuntmen who were under 5 feet.
I'm only like 4'6" on a good day.
Dalton's recognition comes as the Oscars prepare to introduce a new category to honor the best in stunt design.
A lot of people who kind of aren't in the film industry don't recognize that there is somebody else in that costume. It's just exciting that people are now recognizing how much work goes into this.
The Odyssey pulled in more than $360 million globally in its opening weekend, which means Dalton is now part of the biggest debut ever for a Christopher Nolan film.
It almost makes me emotional because I started in this industry as a dream. It's like committing to an ultra marathon, not a sprint in this career.
And that training is paying off. Dalton has more than 80 stunt and acting credits.
I've worked with Devin a lot as an actor. Couldn't happen to a nicer, more committed, more courageous artist.
A major flex for Canadian talent. Griffin Yeager, CBC News, Toronto.
The creator of Heated Rivalry never expected that show's incredible success.
It's crazy. I mean, it's been pretty crazy to see what's happened with this show.
Coming up, how a Canadian created a global sensation.
I want to be in the playoffs and I want to win some cups.
And what about the new season?
In the land of spoilers, I do feel a bit silly. These are based on books.
Plus, her iPhone was sucked out of a plane.
It was pristine. There wasn't a scratch on it.
The moment she found her phone in a field is our moment, later on The National.
She's like a huge movie star.
Are there any gay hockey players?
None that have said it publicly.
Season 2 of the Canadian hockey romance Heated Rivalry is still almost a year away. Its first season captivated audience around the world, culminating with a record-setting 16 wins at the Canadian Screen Awards. I sat down with the creative mind behind it all, Canadian director Jacob Tierney, to talk about the project's meteoric rise and why it's about so much more than hockey and sex.
There's not a lot of sex on TV anymore. There's not a lot of, especially fun sex that is not to be punished or sex that is not violent, frankly. I think there's a lot of non-consensual sex on TV. And I think that is exhausting and psychologically numbing and damaging, probably. And so that was one of the appeals of this show. That being said, it is 100% also one of the risks of, like, is there too much? Will this turn an audience off?
Hello. Hi. Hello, I'm Jacob Tierney, creator of Heated Rivalry.
For Jacob Tierney, it was clearly a risk worth taking. His adaptation of Rachel Reed's hockey romance story, Heated Rivalry, is a cultural phenomenon.
You're an awesome player to watch.
Yes. The fully Canadian production is bold, moving, and wildly successful.
One of the biggest shows in the world right now.
From the wildly popular breakout show Heated Rivalry.
We have got the stars of Heated Rivalry here.
It's also very
gay.
Montreal-born Tierney has been around show business his whole life.
I found proof on Dad's computer.
He's an actor, director, and executive producer. He's had success with Letterkenny.
Oh, Daryl. Oh, the humidity. Y'all might want to think about doing the same thing.
And Shoresy.
We got a ton of ice cream in the fridge, too, so all set there.
Sweet Jesus, Pie, what do you got there?
Sanguinet got drumsticks.
Love a good stick.
But with Heated Rivalry, he's having a moment. Tierney took some time out of writing season 2 to speak with me at the Mattamy Athletic Centre in Toronto. Your show, your career, presumably, super hot at this moment. What's it like being
I
you?
love that my career, presumably. That is the way we feel in this industry. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's been pretty crazy to see what's happened with this show, and so quickly. I think the quick part is the part that's the most kind of remarkable, in the sense that we only finished airing in North America not even 2 months ago, and so for the show to have, done what it's done is it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, so like, in my newsroom in Vancouver, on social media, I started seeing all these references. A lot of women that I work with just love the show so much. You've been through this before with new programs coming out. Sometimes they're hits, maybe sometimes they're not. Why do you think this grew so quickly?
It's a great question, and I wish I had an answer for it. I think it's it's always a combination of things. There's inevitably an element of alchemy, of luck. This is not a science, this business. I think that romance as a genre is largely underserved. I think that female audiences and queer audiences have in common being fairly underserved. And so I think this show just hit at a moment when people were open to it and receptive to it. And I think it's also a show that really wears its heart on its sleeve, and I think that people responded well to that as well.
If we had done this interview in October, before the first episode dropped, would you have been nervous about the show?
I wouldn't have been nervous, because I didn't expect anything approaching this. So I think I would have been grateful to be working, to have made a new show, one that I was very proud of. I mean, I knew the show was good, or at least I liked it, which is really all I can hope for. I knew my network liked it. I knew we were all, optimistic. We got picked up by HBO, which is obviously an extraordinary achievement. And I think I would have been cautiously optimistic. But truthfully, I've been doing this a long time. And the level of, kind of zeitgeisty success that we've had with the show isn't something you even think about, because it virtually never happens.
Are there any gay hockey players?
None that have said it publicly.
I was hoping that the show would be well received, that it would get kind of a culty following, that it would be a sleeper success. That would have been the thing that I would have been thrilled about. I definitely would not have predicted the current outcome.
What was the point at which you realized this is different, this is a phenomenon?
It's interesting. Because of social media, I was like, what's happening? This has always been my algorithm. My producing partner, Brendan, has famously said, the reason I was supposed to tell this, make this show and tell this story is because my algorithm has always been hockey and gay. That's me. That makes sense. But I started to realize that this is happening to other people as well. And then the first weekend where the show aired, the first 2 episodes, was very intense. I'd never, we did a press day, and then we did another press day, and then it was another press day, and then it was more, and then it was like a morning where it was like, okay, you're talking to the New York Times and Rolling Stone and Entertainment Weekly and People Magazine, and I was like, what is happening? Like, they were like, somebody's doing a piece in the Washington Post, yes, but in the Wall Street Journal. Like, places that I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not correct. That shouldn't happen. So it was kind of a bit of a slow burn, but the amount of kindness that has been thrown our way collectively, whether it's the actors or the crew members or to me specifically, it's really been very, very, very meaningful and very special to be told so much that you've moved people and that you've made them feel good and you've made them feel seen, and it's been really nice.
Come here. No, you come here. No, you come here. No, you come here.
There's sex in this show.
Is there?
I think there is. Is there a lot of...
I have to check my notes. I think you're thinking of something else.
And so, was that seen either by you or the people you work with as a risk, the amount of sex?
I mean, it's a risk, but it's also the thing that gets the door open. I mean, that was always the pitch. But, the source material, these books, these romance novels, they're naughty. They're spicy, as they call them in the romance industry. And so what I was telling people when we were trying to get the show made was they're not successful despite this spice. They're successful because of it. That's what this audience wants. And so to remove that would be removing an element that I think makes these books very successful. But also with this specific story, with Shane and Ilya and Heated Rivalry, sex is the language with which these two characters communicate for so many years. They don't really talk to each other. They have sex. And the scenes are not gratuitous, or at least I don't think they're gratuitous. They're there to tell the story. They're a function of the story. They're part of the story. And it was also really important to see how they changed and evolved with this relationship. So yeah, element of risk, element of, that's what we always said. Somebody's going to write something about this show because there's not a lot of gay, smutty hockey shows on TV.
Maybe you've created a genre.
I didn't create it, but I think that maybe I've accelerated the popularity of a genre. I would say that's fairly true.
Beyond the sex, there is a lot of optimism in this story. There's a lot of beauty in this story. There is not much dread. My wife and I were watching it, and she kept saying to me, something bad's going to happen, and she was dreading that. That doesn't happen, at least not in the first season.
No, it doesn't happen. And it's very interesting that you say that, because a lot of gay audiences, a lot of queer audiences, a lot of people just a little bit older than me, but I think also my age, we are used to something bad happening. We are used to waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're used to a punishment, especially if we get to have sex. If you see sex in queer sex in mainstream content, there is almost always a punishment later on narratively. And this show does not have that. It is truly, that's why I wanted to make it. It is a celebration of queer joy. And I know that there were audiences, I think also because it dropped weekly, that would be like, ooh, okay, but next week. Ooh, what's gonna happen next week? I even had a friend who told me, while the credits were rolling at the end of episode 6 in the car, he's like, I was still waiting for something. And I was like, what do you think they're gonna do, hit a deer? What do you think is gonna happen? And then I thought, maybe I should have had them get pulled over and just get a speeding ticket. Nothing else happens, they just get a speeding ticket. Maybe that would have done the trick. But the pleasure of getting to make this and show it to the world is that there is none of that. It's that it is a genuine romance with a happy ever after, or a happy, as they say, a happy for now, I believe is the language in romance. And that was why I wanted to do it.
You've been around movie making your whole life.
I sure have.
When we come back,
I want to be in the playoffs and I want to win some cups. I feel pretty aligned with the fans because we want the same thing.
Jacob Tierney talks hockey culture.
I would love for the next generation of hockey culture to be kinder, more inclusive.
And the influence of his late father.
He would be very proud of me. I miss him.
You've been around movie making your whole life.
I sure have.
Your dad is responsible for Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
That's right.
Which I only saw recently, and it is everybody should watch it.
He's from Quebec.
Martin Ward.
David Butchard.
It is a fantastic movie.
I agree. Yeah.
What did you learn about this craft from your dad?
Oh, a lot. I think the most important thing he taught me as a filmmaker that I've really taken with me is that money is creative. You know, we work in this country, we do not have unlimited finances. We have a limited amount of money. And when I was we were making a film called The Trotsky, and basically what he would present these decisions to me. They were financial issues, but they were presented as creative problems. And it was like, you can't afford everything, but we can afford this or this. You have to pick. You're the director. And it was an incredibly valuable lesson to learn because it turns problems into solutions. And it forces you to take responsibility for your own creative decisions, which I think is a good thing.
Your father's passed away.
Yes.
What do you think he'd say about the success of Heated Rivalry?
He would be very proud of me. He would be very proud of me. He was always my biggest cheerleader. He was always my biggest supporter. And yeah, he believed in me enormously, but he also spent his whole career fighting for this industry and fighting for the Canadian film business. You know, he ran the Cinémathèque Québécoise. He was deeply involved. Sorry. I miss him. He was deeply involved, and he believed that we could be world class. He believed that we were capable as a culture, both in Quebec and Canada, of accomplishing great things. And I think he'd be really, really proud of the show, of me, and yeah. I think it would be pretty meaningful for him.
What impact do you think Heated Rivalry will have on the Canadian industry?
What I hope that it does is it encourages us to double down on investing in our own culture of saying we are capable of these things. They can happen. They won't always happen. It won't. But it could. And I think that if anything, it really should encourage us all or the powers that be, it's not up to me, to continue to see this industry flourish. I think culture matters in that way. You know, it is a level of soft power. You know, I've had people in government tell me that this show is soft power for them. Which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Good, let it be. That's wonderful.
And it is the only program ever on HBO Max with a reference to the Canada Treasury Board.
Are we sure? Was there nothing in Game of Thrones?
I feel pretty confident.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I want to be in the playoffs and I want to win some cups. I feel pretty aligned with the fans because we want the same thing. And at this point, it's my job to take that personally.
Ilya? What he said.
What about the impact of this program on the hockey world?
I think that's another big remains to be seen. You know, I think you know, there's been a lot of reach out. There's been a lot of beginnings of conversations that we've had with professional hockey, with the NHL and other organizations. Wonderful organizations like You Can Play, people like that who we want to work with and be a part of kind of spreading a message of inclusivity in hockey. I think hockey has a long way to go. Mm-hmm. You know, I think hockey has a long way to go. Men's hockey, the PWHL, I think they're leaps and bounds. They're leaving the men in the dust, in that sense. But yeah, you know, I would truthfully. I care less about the impact on professional hockey right now, and I hope that the impact is felt on younger people, among teenagers, among people who are going to be the next generation of hockey culture. I would love for the next generation of hockey culture to be kinder, more inclusive, you know, and there are wonderful, kind people all over the place, including obviously in the NHL and everywhere. And hopefully, you know, institutional change, I think, comes from, the numbers kind of cresting and enough people being like, we don't want to talk this way anymore. We don't want to use this kind of language. We don't want to make people feel like they don't belong here. That's really what has to change, is people being like, I don't like this. I don't want to make people feel like they don't belong here. It's not actually about a hockey player coming out. That matters way less than I think the space being open and ready for anything, to be kinder in general.
Have you gotten any surprising emails from executives or players or people in the hockey world?
I have. I've gotten a lot of, I think we've all gotten a little bit of that kind of outreach. And from the outreach I've gotten, it's pretty clear that there's road to hoe here. There's still a way to go. But people are grateful for it, and grateful for the show, is what I meant. And I think they're happy to see a different version of this than the one that is kind of endlessly presented. I think professional hockey is like the Catholic Church in the sense that there's a level of silence and monolith about it. That it maintains a kind of quietness and a kind of institutionalized. We all know what it's like to watch hockey players be interviewed, right? They're not. They're saying the same four things over and over again. And that's not because they're not interesting people. It's because that's what they've been trained to do. That's what they've been that's their media training. That's what and so I think there's a lot of people who've at least expressed to me that they are happy to see anything different about that.
You are working on season 2 right now. Uh-huh. Like literally today.
Literally today.
And so you are in
Doesn't this look like work?
Yeah.
This is what I do. I come here to TMU and I go to work.
And can you tell us anything about what's going to be in season 2?
I absolutely can't.
Will it still be optimistic and without dread?
It will certainly not have the kind of dread that people anticipate with queer stories. There's more drama. Listen, the book that it's based on is called The Long Game. It's in the land of spoilers, I do feel a bit silly. These are based on books. What I will say is that the second season will continue in the spirit of the first season, in that this is about queer people not being punished for their queerness. They all have journeys, and there are ups and downs, but there will not be. There's no unhappy ending coming anybody's way. There might be a bit more suspense, maybe a few more cliffhangers. But yeah, that's also just a function of television.
It must be a dilemma if you're a super fan, because as he pointed out, you can just read the book and you know exactly what's going to happen in season 2, or you can wait to watch it week by week on television, but it doesn't drop until probably, the estimate is, April of next year, 9 months from now. Coming up, a phone falls out of a plane and keeps working.
It got sucked out of the case by the airstream and fell 1.1 kilometers to the ground.
How the owner tracked down her device. That's next in our moment. This is artist Heather Klein and her husband David Stanchuk. She likes to paint aerial landscapes in Western Canada, inspired by riding in the Cessna Skyhawk plane that her husband pilots. Heather and her husband were flying over Saskatchewan for about half an hour when her phone was sucked right out of its carrying case, dropping over a kilometer to the ground below. So tonight, how they found the phone in pristine condition is our moment.
How did it land?
Perfectly. I'm a visual artist who takes images from my husband's airplane. Unfortunately, while trying out a new phone, it got sucked out of the case by the airstream and fell 1.1 kilometers to the ground. And I said a few things that we won't repeat. I hit my watch to find my phone.
It was in a field.
We're hoping this road goes somewhere. We got to the field and started walking, and I looked at this huge field of canola. I just started saying, oh, why are we even here? Why are we doing this?
There was a drainage wash through the field, and we followed that, and the phone was actually literally right on the side of it.
The glass isn't even cracked.
It was pristine. There wasn't a scratch on it.
I am gobsmacked. I could have dropped it out of my pocket. I've had phones fall off a countertop and the screen is cracked.
When we were in the air just after it fell out, she goes, give me your phone and so I can look for it. I says, no, I'm not giving you my phone. Just, racking this up to another adventure.
And I'm kind of worried that for the rest of my life, the catchphrase is going to be, don't drop that.
Well, there's another catchphrase for those of us of a certain age. takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Remember the Timex torture test? You won't, unless you're as old as I am. But you got to wonder if somebody out there in the advertising world for that brand of phone is watching and might be giving that couple a call. From all of us here at The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Ian Hannah-Mansing in Vancouver. Hope you can join me on CBC News Network, weeknights starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Good night.